because of the wreckage they left behind when they were kicked out of office in 2008.
Question number 3, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, what is the forecast cost to the Crown of foregone dividends and sale costs as a result of his privatisation plan, according to the final A3 page in the Treasury report extending the mixed ownership model?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the basic numbers outlined in that page are as follows. According to the Budget 2011 projections, combined dividends from the 4 SOEs in question are expected to average $380 million over the next 4 years. This represents a yield of 2.5% on the commercial valuations provided by SOE boards last year. By contrast, interest rates are expected to average 5.3%, implying a holding cost of $800 million a year, or about twice the dividend return. So the expected dividends were going to be around about half of the holding cost of the value of those SOEs.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, can the Minister confirm whether those numbers include or exclude capital distributions, and why he hasn't therefore provided the public with a full costing of his asset sales policy? And doesn't he think that the public deserves to have such information in front of them before they go to the polls?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the member can't have it both ways, and that is say that the dividends are large because of capital distributions. Well, the capital distributions come from asset sales. That's what the main capital distributions have come from, the large asset sale by Meridian, overseen by the last Labor government. So, Mr Speaker, we would rather pay dividends to Kiwis than interest to foreigners.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, did he read the passage in this report to him that states, and I quote, "A range of issues would make the complexity of this program substantial," close quote, and does he consider that some policies are worth pursuing even if they are supposedly complex?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, this policy is worth pursuing because it will give the opportunity for New Zealanders to invest in New Zealand assets at a time where their savings are reaching record levels. It's good news that New Zealanders understand what needs to happen in this economy, and the government is going to help by giving them the opportunity to invest their savings soundly.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, did he read the passage in the report that states his privatisation plan would take 3 to 5 years for the sales to be complete and entailing ongoing costs in lost dividends? And does he therefore agree that governments should undertake policies that take time to build and don't necessarily release their full revenue potential in the first year?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, if the member's trying to conjure up an excuse for why his capital gains tax won't raise the revenue he is claiming, and therefore he's going to have large deficits and more debt, then the answer is no.
Point of order, the Honourable Rick Barker.
Point of order. The member there is not responsible for speculation about Labor's possible policy. His answer is all about that. He should answer the question.
Order. A point of order has been called, and it's a difficult one for the Speaker to rule on, because the question asked the Minister his view of policies that take time to implement and ramp up over time. And the Minister, in expressing his view as he was asked to do, used the example of a capital gains tax as the way to respond to that question. And I can't rule that that's unreasonable, unfair, given the nature of the question asked. I think the member asking the question knew the risks in framing the question that way. The Honourable David Cunliffe, supplementary question.
To the Minister, is there any evidence his privatisation policy would, quote, boost the domestic capital markets, close quote, as suggested in the report? And wouldn't a better policy address what he's called the distortion that leads to Kiwis favouring unproductive property speculation, starving productive enterprises of capital?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, well, the government, of course, has plans to achieve both of those objectives. So we have made significant changes that have increased the effective taxation of property and don't tax the gains of hard-working New Zealanders, have increased the value of their business, as he is planning.
Pēcētā Sam Lotu-Iiga.
Further supplementary, Mr Speaker. Which groups of New Zealand investors does he expect to be at the front of the queue when portions of the SOEs are offered for community ownership under the mixed ownership model?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, of course the controlling owner will be the New Zealand Government at least 51%, but we would expect other groups who have expressed, I have to say, enthusiasm for the proposal. KiwiSaver funds, who of course represent 1.7 million New Zealanders and their savings, mum and dad retail investors, Crown financial institutions such as the New Zealand Super Fund and ACC, and the most enthusiastic group appear to be iwi, who of course are long-term holders of New Zealand assets and would continue to be so.
Question number 4, Dr Jackie Blue.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My